Hi and welcome to a brand new video related to Synology, but today we will not be installing anything directly related to home automation. Instead, we will be installing Storj Storagenode on our Synology device. If you have extra space, then you can rent it out and earn some bucks. We'll start in 10 seconds. Before we proceed with today's video, I really would like to thank all the members who have joined the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for all of your support. And of course, thanks to everybody who subscribed, liked or watched my videos. Thank you. And now let's get started with the Storj video. In recent years, cryptocurrency has really become a hype. We have news daily, weekly, depending if the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. are going up and down. In this video, I will not be covering the controversy around the cryptocurrency, both in terms of legality and maybe money laundering, but instead we will be looking at one concept that I really like. This is the idea of decentralized storage. So in the world where me as a user of Home Assistant is trying to get everything inside his home and keep it private, and B of more and more cloud services and no way out but to sign for cloud service, this is a really nice alternative. What it really is, it is, let's call it like that, public cloud service where nobody owns the data. I will not be going into details in this video about the Storj project or how their Storj concept works, but as you can see, the first priority is encryption. After data is encrypted, it is split into smaller pieces. Then those pieces are globally distributed, and this part we'll be covering in today's video. And of course the last steps is when the objects are needed, they are retrieved and decrypted for your use. So today we will be working on this part here. What are the nodes? Nodes are devices. Most of them are some kind of storage devices where users rent their extra space. So we will be focusing on the nodes today because I myself have been running Node for more than 3 years. Let me first warn you, if you are thinking of buying EMC storage or whatever storage, new or used, or for example 20 Synology devices, and then earn big bucks, stop. This doesn't work that way. You will get your money back in around 20 or so years. So what is the case and why would you join this network? For example, I myself had a 10 terabyte storage, which had around 7 or 8 terabytes free. I decided to rent 4 terabytes out of that storage for the Storj project. That way, other people that need storage to store data can use the disk space I have through this network. On the other hand, I get paid. I get paid both for downloads and also for the data that is kept on my storage. Mind you, I have to warn you that you do have to keep up with the SLA. If I'm not mistaken, currently it's 99.3% per month, meaning that you do not have that much space for any downtime. What are we talking in terms of money income? In total, over 3 years, I think the average that I earned was around 20 bucks a month for 4 terabytes of storage and a lot of network traffic. If you already have devices such as Synology running 24/7, if you have extra storage with the extra space that you can rent out and forget about it for a couple of years, then you can join this network. So if you have Synology or a similar device or even PC that is running 24/7, which I wouldn't recommend, but let's say that you have it, no matter if you're running Windows, Mac or Linux, you can join the storage network. There are some prerequisites, limits, etc., but today we'll be focusing on Synology. And while I will be doing this in Synology, you can follow this for most of the Linux platforms. So what is the process of signing up, setting it up and running the system? First, you have to sign up with a valid email address because you will be receiving a key that you will need later on during the installation. Second, you have to install it, and the installation for Synology is done inside the Docker. And the third, of course, is to keep it running. If the network accepts your node, you will start receiving data. It will take some time, first for the network to detect your storage, then to get a reputation, because based on reputation you will be receiving data. But it can take a month to 2. Okay, so let's start with the sign-up process. Click here on Host a Node, type your email address, I'm not a robot, continue. You will receive here auth token, which we will need during the setup process. So let me copy it. This token will also be sent to your email, but I will just in case copy it and save it in the text file. Of course, if you mess something up, you can sign up once again, because you can have more than one storage node. The next step requires you to generate your node identity. The node identity creation process can be done on any machine. So for example, if you have very fast Windows machine, you can do it there. Then later on just copy this identity to your Synology. For the purpose of this video, we will be doing everything on our Synology device. So let's click on how to generate identity. Every guide here is divided into Windows, Linux and macOS. If you are running it on QNAP, you have ability to install the application. But since we are running it on Synology, I will be using the Linux process. So the process is to download the identity binary, create identity, authorize the identity, confirm the identity, and then the last step is of course to back up your identity. And the last thing I will do is move identity to the subfolder in the storage location. Okay, so let's get started. First things first, we need to open up a terminal and connect to our Synology. Let me quickly log in. After you have logged into your Synology, we have to run the command line. But there are some differences between the commands that are typed here and what we will have to use at the end. For example, if we were to use first command to download the identity archive, it would fail because we do not have permission to write the file here. And it does says in the manual that you should run it as a normal user, not as root or administrator, but it doesn't work for us. So instead, I will add sudo in front of it to download the file. Next thing that we have to run is unzip, but unfortunately our Synology doesn't have unzip. So if we would to run this command that is suggested, it would fail. One option we have is to substitute this with the 7z command, with the x for extract, then the name of the file and run it. But once again, it will fail. And while it will fail because we do not have permission. So I'll type sudo once again and run this command. Everything has been extracted. The next command we have to run is change mode. So let me paste it here. Once again, the permission is not allowed. So I'll type sudo. We have changed the mode of identity. And the last thing we have to do is move this identity to user local bin identity location. So I will paste this command. And we have now moved this file. Since we have now moved this file to the location where it should be recognized by Synology, let me first clear the screen. The next step is to create identity. You need to copy the command, paste it here, but I wouldn't recommend that you run it like that. If you would probably once again end up with the permission error. And since this process can take hours, it usually takes around 1 hour on my DS415 Plus, but it can take hours or even days. You do not want to end up with the permission error. So I would suggest that you add sudo in front of this. So let's start it. As you see, we are waiting to reach the difficulty of 36 and we are currently at 27. As I said, it only takes about 1 hour on my machine, but it can take a bit longer or even days longer. So let me cut to that. And this part is now done. And this time it didn't took 1 hour, it took almost 6 hours. We now have to authorize our identity. And this is done also by the command. Once again, I will be prefixing with sudo. And we have also to provide here the key that we received via email or we copied previously. First things first, I'll clear the screen. Sudo identity authorize storage node, and this part is the token. We need to press enter, type in our sudo password, and it says that identity successfully authorized using single use authorization token. We now have to back up this. I'll copy the path. Let's copy this here. We'll be needing it in the next step. So root local share Storj identity storage node. We now have to confirm the identity. Let me clear this. And now we have to type in the command to confirm the identity. As before, we have to type in sudo first, or we will receive permission denied error. Grep -c begin and paste the URL we copied previously where our identity is located. But that's not all. We have to add ca.cert for certificate and press enter. We received 2, and this is the answer we should receive. Next, we will follow up with the same command, but instead of ca.cert, we will use identity.cert, and here we should receive response 3. That's it, our identity is now ready. We can now proceed with installation of the Storj Storage node. And this is done in the Docker, so make sure that you already have your Docker installed. But unfortunately, we cannot type that command inside the Docker UI, so we have to use once again command line interface. First, let's create folders where all the files will be located. Let's create first folder for the Storj, mkdir volume 1 docker Storj. This will be our main folder, and inside of that we will create additional 2 subfolders. One will be called identity, and the second one will be called data. Okay, now everything is prepared. We have now finished with this, so let's click on the CLI or CLI install for the steps of installation. So in the next step, we have to check a couple of things. Before we do a CLI install or command line install, we did already receive token, we did generate identity, but we still didn't set up port forwarding. And I'll do that first on my MikroTik router. For the next step, we have to install Docker, but we are not going to use any of those installation guides here. For that, just make sure that you have installed the Docker package inside your package center in Synology. And that's it. Let's go to next step. In the next step, it says that we now have to pull the latest version of the Docker image called Storagenode. Let me copy that. In your terminal, paste the command docker pull storage labs Storagenode latest, but don't forget to add sudo, especially if you're running version of DSM 7.0. Let's type in the password. And now the latest version of the image will be pulled down from the GitHub. It will take a couple of minutes or seconds depending on the speed of your internet. And that's it. Let me clear the screen. Before we type the setup command, we have to do one more thing, and this is copy our identity files to the folder we created previously. So from that root Storj identity storage node folder, it has to go to volume 1 docker storage identity folder. Let's first list the files that we have inside this root identity folder. Sudo ls, and I'll paste here the path. And these are the files we have there. We will be copying those files to our identity folder. Sudo cp with the flag -r. Once again, we will paste the path, and we will copy this to volume 1 docker Storj identity. Let's now list the content of the folder where identities should be now located. Sudo ls 1 docker Storj identity. Yes, unfortunately the copy command not just copied the files, but it also copied the folder. So what I'll do, in the Docker Storj identity folder there is now storage node, and I will just select all the files here and move them to identity folder. And in this identity folder now we have all the keys and certificates. So that should be it. Let's go back to command line interface and finish setup and running the storage node. The next command needs to be run only once during the setup process. You need to adapt the folders to match the ones you created previously. In my case this is volume 1, Docker, Storj, and then two folders, identity for identity and data for data. You may of course choose a different folders, so please adapt this command to match your setup. Let me paste the command. Sudo docker run, variable will be set up true, and I will be using mount here to mount the identity folder and then mount to mount the data folder. And we will be giving it a name, storage node, with the image we pulled previously. Let's press enter, password, and it's done. Let's clear the screen. And now comes the hard part. When I say hard part, you just need to be careful what you type here. So the following command that you need to copy from the installation page is very long, and you do need to adapt it to match your configuration. Let me paste the command that I need to type in. So we have sudo docker run. This will be same for everybody. Restart unless stop, stop timeout 300. Then we need to specify the ports, both TCP and UDP. And you may see that my ports here are different than the standard ones. That's because I already have one rule set up on my system, so I exchanged the 28967 port for the 28968. If this is the first time you're installing it, you can leave it at default port. The next thing is the localhost with the port 14002, and this is the port where you will be able to access the statistics. So for example, when everything is running, you can go to your Synology IP address with the port 14002, and there you will see statistics of your storage node. Next, we have environment variable called wallet. Here you need to paste the public address of your wallet. Be careful, there is also private key and a public key. Use here your public key, and this is where you should receive your money. Next, specify your working email address, as this is email address where you will receive notification if anything goes wrong. So make sure that this is valid email address. Next, we need to specify address, and this address needs to be either fixed or static public IP address or the DNS. In my case, this is public but not static IP address that's mapped to my domain name, so the DNS version, with the port 28968, because once again I'm not using standard 28967. If this is first time you're installing it, you can leave at the default value of 7. Next variable you need to specify is the storage size. Here I'm specifying 6 terabytes because I have a lot of free space. My original one was 4 terabytes, this one will be 6 terabytes. When you specify space here, make sure that you have at least extra 10% free. So if you specify here 5 terabytes, make sure that you have at least another 500 gigabytes free, so 5.5 free. The last two things are once again our folders. The first one is a mount, where we must match our identity folder, and the second mount is for our data folder. Name of the Docker will be storage node, and once again we are using this image. If we now press enter, type in our password, it should start. And now let's go back to Synology. Our storage node is running. Let's check the dashboard. For that you need to go to the IP address of your Synology and type the port 14002. Of course, if the Synology is the host where you are running Docker. And here it is, my brand new dashboard for my brand new node. storage node status is online, uptime is 1 minute, last contact 1 minute, version is the latest version at the time of recording, and the period I'm monitoring is July. Currently, I have only 23.9 megabytes of traffic, which is of course normal because the node has just started. I have dedicated 6 terabytes of space. It is currently 100% online, my wallet address and the current monthly earnings. Let me refresh the page. As I've said, it will take some time for this node to get seen by the satellites and for the traffic to get distributed. And since this also depends on the users that are using this network to store their data, it may take from a couple of hours, days, weeks, months, or even half a year for my storage to get noticed and filled with data, because currently I am competing against 10,000 other nodes on the network for the traffic. And this is it. I do apologize for a very lengthy video, but unfortunately there were a lot of steps, and I did cut some corners. For example, I didn't show you how to set up your Ethereum wallet, so if you have problems with that, you can always find me on the Discord server. Also, we didn't touch some other topics, but I think that if you want to set up, you will have enough information to set it up. Once again, I must stress out, please don't buy new hardware. This can only make sense to you if you already have Synology or similar device running 24/7 and you already have disk space. I don't think that you can get a 10 terabyte disk for this and make a profit in a long time. So please be careful. But on the other hand, if you have extra storage, why not earn some extra money? I hope that you like this video, and if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up because it not just means a lot to me, but it also helps with the YouTube algorithms. If you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified on the future updates. If you have any kind of a comment or a question, you can always find me on the Discord server, and the link to Discord server is down in the comment section below. But also feel free to leave comment down in the comment section below. And this is it. Until the next time, bye bye and have fun.